have to make sure that there's justice for Tyre.
The family of Tyre Nichols and their attorney Ben Crump, who you heard from there, speak out tonight for the first time since seeing footage from the encounter with Memphis police that led to Nichols' death. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump calling the footage appalling, violent, and heinous. Good evening. I'm Joe Birch.
And I'm Joy Redmond, and we have team coverage tonight as we learn new details about the body cam footage and the ongoing investigation into Tyre's death. Let's go first to Action News 5's Stephanie Douglas, who was at today's press conference with the family. Stephanie, what can you tell us?
Good evening, guys. Well, I can tell you that we still don't know what that video footage looks like, as it has not been released to the public, but we can tell you that the family and attorneys of Tyre Nichols say that the video was so bad they had to take a break from watching it. They also compared it to the 1991 beating of Rodney King by Los Angeles police officers. But civil rights attorney Ben Crump says the difference between the 1991 incident and the video of Nichols' arrest is that Nichols never made it home again. Crump said today Nichols was less than 100 yards away from his house when he was pulled over by officers in an unmarked car. He says that the video shows Nichols calling out for his mom 3 times at the end of the video. Civil rights attorney Antonio Romanucci says that there was an unnecessary, intentionally cruelty and violence against Tyre.
Let me say this about Tyre, about what we saw in that video. We're here not to talk about what a great boy he was and what a good son he was to his mother. But let me tell you what he was in that video. He was defenseless the entire time. He was a human pinata for those police officers. It was an unadulterated, unabashed, nonstop beating of this young boy for 3 minutes.
Oh my God.
That is what we saw in that video.
Tyre's family said today that they do not want the public to forget who Tyre was. He was a son, an avid skateboarder, and a father to a 4-year-old. They also chanted, quote, "We will see what they did to Tyre." And also in a statement released by Shelby County District Attorney Steve Mulroy, he said that the video will not be released until later this week or next week until the internal investigation is complete. Reporting live tonight, Stephanie Douglas, Action News 5.
The death of Tyre Nichols has many in Memphis and the Mid-South calling for change tonight.
Action News 5's Sydney Gray continues our live team coverage with more from this aspect. Sydney.
Evening to you, Joy and Joe. Well, tonight we are just a few hundred yards away from the Memphis Police Department. We're here downtown, and tonight many community leaders and activists are calling for changes to the policies and practices of the department here. So we heard from several leaders who spoke out about the officers' actions at the press conference earlier today. Attorney Ben Crump, as you all have mentioned, calling their actions violent. He says the video of the death is appalling and heinous. We also heard from NAACP Memphis branch president Van Turner, and he asked why this keeps happening over and over here in Memphis. Many city leaders are also calling for more transparency from the department and, of course, better training. We did hear from Dr. Reverend Earl Fisher, who said the culture of policing must change.
Can, applaud them doing the bare minimum, which was firing the police officers. I'd like to see what happens over the next couple of weeks. I'd like to see, as the family requested, murder one charges. That seems to be what is at the bare minimum of this. I'd also like to see, if the Department of Justice is serious, it's time to investigate the law enforcement agencies in Memphis and Shelby County.
Well, Reverend Fisher also says rather than hiring more officers, he says the focus should be on reform. Well, Tyre's family is continuing to ask for peaceful protests here in the Memphis area ahead of the release of the video when it does eventually come out, really just reiterating that they would like things to remain peaceful here in the area. I'm live downtown. Sydney Gray, Action News 5.
We also know tonight 2 people with the Memphis Fire Department who were involved in the initial patient care of Tyre Nichols have been relieved of duty. MFD tells us those personnel are relieved of duty while an internal investigation is underway. Department officials did not comment any further about that situation.
The Memphis man who was instrumental in organizing multiple demonstrations after the deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor is speaking out tonight on the Tyre Nichols investigation. Local activist Pastor DEVANTE Hill says he commends Memphis Police Chief C.J. Davis on her role of communication during this time. Hill emphasizing, although this situation occurred with Memphis police, it does not mean all police officers have the same intentions. Hill is also urging the community to use this time to come together and fight for the bigger issue of justice.
Crime as a whole is going completely down, and I think that we just have to stay in the empowerment of what happens when the community works together. When the community works with the police department works with city officials work with legislators, we can build a beautiful Memphis. And I believe, as I've always said, Memphis is going to be the catalyst of change for the entire world.
Hill also says while we wait for the body cam footage to be released, the community should take this time to understand the reasoning behind the wait.
So we're going to continue to follow the very latest developments in this investigation as it unfolds. We'll bring you updates on the air and online just as fast as we get them.